Hello and welcome to BTA. In this tutorial, I'll walk you through setting up a class or virtual event in BTA and taking bookings for the said class. One quick note before we start, we will be beginning in Shopify today, but you can also create a product within your BTA admin if you prefer as well. Another thing worth noting is that a class in BTA occurs on a single date, whereas a course runs multi-day. Okay. The first step is to create your Shopify product. So within your Shopify admin, you will want to create a new product which will represent your class or event. For the purpose of this demo, I will be using the Economics 101 class product, which has already been created. You will want to set up the description section here. As seen in our demo, we have more information on what the class's Economics 101 entails. This will give your customers more information about the class. The next thing to do is to include your media or any images necessary for that class. And the third step is to configure your variants as seen here. For classes, variants will represent different options within the same product. For example, a class-only option and a class plus book material option, which can be priced differently. As we already have a pre-configured variant, you can add another option on this section and set up the option and the option values. For example, for a demo above, the option name would be add class materials and the option values would be class only and another option called class plus book. You will save that and proceed to pricing them accordingly within the price section. Another thing to note here is that you do not need to set up the dates as variants. This is handled entirely within BTA when we create the schedule, which I'll get to shortly. Once your pricing is set, you want to hit save and proceed to the next step. Step 2, which is importing the product into BTA. To do that, you want to click on the More Actions tab and select the BookThatApp configuration. In our demo, since the service has already been added to BTA, I will be walking you through all the settings within the product page and explaining what each of them entails. We are within step 3, which is configuring the service within BTA itself. You will ensure that you select your booking type as class. The title is usually pre-populated as set up in Shopify, and the handle as well is pre-populated. Feel free to update those if necessary. The next setting is capacity. Capacity controls the maximum number of people permitted per time slot. Yeah. So for class, this is essentially your class size limit. BTA gives you 3 options for capacity basis. We have variant basis, as seen here, product basis, and resource basis. In most cases, the product-based capacity is the right choice. However, if you have class material alongside the class, for example, if you only have 10 textbooks available, then you may want to use the variant basis so that the material variant has its own separate limit. You can get more information on that within the tool. This provides you with a help desk article that provides you with more in-depth information on what the capacity setting on BTA entails. For a demonstration, we see that we are working with a variant basis, and the class plus book variant only takes a capacity of 10, and the class only takes a capacity of 10. What this means is that if you were to take up one class, the total combined capacity will be 20, because there will be the option for class only, which is 10 people, and class plus book, which will take up another 10 people. What this also means is that if the capacity for class plus book is exhausted, that is, if 10 people have already booked the slot, then that will not be available anymore, and the class only option will be available if that is not fully booked for that. We also have another basis known as resource basis. I will get into more details on that shortly. However, just on a quick note, resources provide shared capacities that can be connected across products. So if your instructor or room is shared between multiple services, BT allows you to manage the availability automatically. We do have a separate article regarding resources. Please feel free to proceed to the tooltip. This redirects you to the help desk section. You can query for the resource article and you will get more detailed information on how to configure your resources as well. The next setting is the duration setting. This is where you enter the duration of your class. Our Economics 101 class has a duration of 1 hour. The next setting is the date range settings. The easiest way to understand this is when it comes to counting days and nights. Count days allows you to just count within the same day, and counting nights allows this to overflow into the next. Example for counting nights is when booking, for example, accommodation at a hotel where you're allowed to book into the next day. The booking starts today and flows over to the next day, whereas counting days just counts the very same day. When it comes to the date picker settings, you want to use this to control how far in advance or how close to class your customer can register. The cutoff days controls how close to the class date the customers can register, whereas the future days controls how far in advance your customers can register. You can get more information as usual on the tooltip. The next setting is locations. If you have a physical or a virtual location for the class, you can assign it here, and the location address will then appear in your customer notification email. We do have an in-depth documentation on how to configure locations as well. Please feel free to access our help desk as well. It will guide you on how to configure the locations. For example, this class has been assigned to 3 locations. We have LA, my Zoom event, and New York. My Zoom event is a virtual location, and I will go into that a bit later in this article. Resources as well. Resources are shared capacity that can be connected across products. As mentioned earlier, BTA will manage that availability automatically. I will get into more details on resources as well in the next step. After configuring our resources in the previous, once we configure our resources, we will proceed to manage and we will add that resource on this section. As an example, say the staff Albert will be running this class. We can assign them as a resource and save that. So what that does, it will ensure that Albert's availability is considered when your customers will be making bookings. As a quick example, if Albert is already booked out for another class, then customers should not be able to book for this class because Albert is essentially not available to tutor that class. So I will remove that and preserve our previous setup. I will skip on to the calendar settings section. What you want to do is to choose the background color for this class, the text color, and the border color. This makes it easier to differentiate your classes at a glance on the booking calendar inside BTA. I will skip over to giving you a walkthrough on our resources and locations, as I had mentioned earlier. To do that, we will proceed to settings. I will start off with the resources. Within the resources page, I will give a quick overview on what resources entails. To avoid extending this demo a little too long, I will provide a quick overview on what resources entail. And to do that, I will walk you through the different types of resources. We have staff, equipment, and room. So essentially, just through the naming system, staff represents the staff resource, equipment is an equipment resource, and the room represents the room's resources as well. As you can see, we have pre-configured rooms, pre-configured equipment, and also pre-configured stuff. Usually to create a resource, you'd click on create resource and follow the necessary steps. This would include setting up the name of the resource, choosing whether it's a staff, equipment, or room resource, assigning locations. This is a location where the resource would be available at, setting up availability for that resource. That is to mean the days within which this resource will be available for booking. And you can add any meta description of the resource, add any necessary tags that will be used for report generation as well. You can link external calendars only to staff resources, equipment, and room resources do not allow for that. Another difference between equipment, staff, and room resource is that both equipment and room resource types allow you to set up capacity, whereas the staff resource is only preset at a capacity of 1. That is it for resources. I will proceed to providing you info on how to set up locations. This is also found within settings, store management, and then locations. As seen on this page, we have pre-created locations. But to create locations, you will click on add location and enter the details as necessary. What's usually needed here is the name, the contact, the address, the time zone, products assigned to that location, the zip codes, and the availability as well. A very important thing to note is the virtual setting. This is useful when enabling online or virtual locations such as Zoom meetings. To do that, you will click on virtual location and proceed to connecting your Zoom account. Connect your Zoom account. The virtual location will be well set up and you can take virtual events or virtual classes for that. Now we're back into our Classes Economics 101 service, and the last step would be to configure your schedule. This is where you define the actual dates and times that your class will run. Within the schedule section, you have two options. We have one-off dates and we have the repeat options. So for the one-off dates, you want to use this for regular dates. For example, you'll click on add dates and select a date, for example, June 10th, 12 p.m. and save that. You can also select the specific location that this will be running for and click on save. This is ideal for events or classes that do not follow a recurring pattern, right? However, the repeat option is useful for classes that recur on a single basis, for example, every Monday at 6 p.m. So to do that, I'll click on add dates and I'll start my event on 14th June at 12 p.m. as well. And I will repeat this for every Monday. Set an end date. Always ensure you set an end date and repeat this for every week and set the time as well, which is at 12 p.m. Do that, and this prevents you from having to enter each date manually and will automatically generate the schedule based on the recurrence rule you have defined. And then you'll click on save. Our third step, which was setting up the configuration for the class within BTA, has been done. We will skip over to the next step, which would be setting up the widget. And to do that, we will proceed to the BTA section and then the widgets menu section. Within the widgets page, you want to add a class widget. Within the new widget you've created, in the Services tab, you can decide to apply the widget to all services, which is recommended, or you can choose to apply this to only selected services, such as our Class Economics 101 class. You want to also customize your widget settings to match your store, and you can preview changes in real time within the widget preview section here. Finally, you want to also update your translations. Translations allow you to change the default text within the widget. For example, the submit button currently displays the book now text. I could change this to display sign up for class. And as seen, this has updated the text default within the widget itself. You will want to save your changes to your widget and proceed to the next step. Since we're done with widget setup, we'll proceed back to the next step, which is previewing the service we created or the class in the storefront. And to do that, we'll proceed to the services menu. Then we will select the Economics 101 class. You can query for that as seen in our demo. Then what you want to do next is to click on the view icon page, and we can see the widget, the calendar preview as expected. You also see that the dates we set up are available with the dates and the times as well. The customer will then select their preferred date and time. First, start with selecting the location, the variant necessary, and the date and time, and proceed to book now. This will redirect them to the add-ons menu. Our add-ons functionality allows you to upsell any services you have. For a class, you might want to upsell specific books or specific paraphernalia. You can also add those within the add-on section. This essentially are products that your customer can add to cart and buy as they proceed to checkout. For this demo, I will add one gift pack, add to cart, and then click on continue. Cart page, we can see our add-on and also our class that the customer selected, and we can proceed to checkout. Once your customer has checked out, a booking will be created upon order creation as well. One final tip, once your classes are live, you may want to add a link to your store navigation pointing to the BTA calendar page. We have two formats to do that. The first option will be to use the widget. And to do that, you will click on the widget and proceed to adding the events calendar widget. This is done by selecting the store-wide widget and choosing the events calendar. For purpose of our demonstration, I will open one that we've created already. And as you can see, you can embed this code anywhere within your theme page. You can set this up on the home page of your store as well and configure the settings as necessary. This is how the events calendar would display. This is the preview. You can see all the classes, the courses, and the events that you have set up. The other option is to use our classic templates, and to do that, you select settings and proceed to templates, and you will select calendar. And as you can see, this will redirect to the apps BookThatApp/calendar, and this displays scheduled products just the same way the widget does, although this allows you to do a lot more editing within the code as well, as seen on this section, right? I will proceed back and show you how this would display on the customer storefront. It will display with a list of the products and the locations, and it will show the events that you have coming up. For instance, we have the economics class 1 and 2 on June 10th. This is the classic form of the events calendar, but the widget would allow you to embed it on any page necessary. Please feel free to decide which option will work best for you. Feel free to write in to support@bookthatApp.com if you need any help getting set up, and our team will be on standby to help you get set up with BT. Thank you for your time.